Hello everybody, I'm Casey, and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk About. Today, let's talk about the latest episode of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, No Second Prances. This time we have what I'd argue is our first Starlight Glimmer episode. She is a member of the main cast now, so I honestly should have expected her to get her own focus episodes like the rest of the group. But in this episode, she's sharing the spotlight. Twilight assigned Starlight with the task of making a new friend for a special dinner with Princess Celestia. Before we go into who she eventually does befriend, I want to talk about Starlight's failed attempts at befriending some pony. Back in my Cutie Remarks review, I said I'd wait until Starlight was featured more in the show to see how I felt about her reformation. I did agree that she was accepted a bit too quickly by the main group, but the show finds a clever way around this issue. Just because the main six have accepted Starlight as one of their friends, doesn't mean Starlight has completely changed. Sure, she's good now, but she still has control issues, like trying to help ponies in ways they may not want to be, or just changing others with magic, because that worked out so well for her in the past. But I like that Starlight is still a bit of a control freak. It shows that reformation like this takes time. But unlike, say, Discord, who did take time to truly reform, but didn't really try to, Starlight is frustrated that this is the way she is. I do believe that she wants to change and be a good student, she's just having trouble relating to someone enough to not want to change them. However, Starlight does stumble upon some ponies she has quite a bit in common with. A returning character that was pretty well concealed and would have been an awesome reveal if Hasbro hadn't ruined it in the promo. Yes, the great and powerful Trixie has returned. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, guys, I'm not a fan. At least before this episode, Trixie was one of those characters with a huge fan base I never really understood. I mean, if you like Trixie, or even love her, that's great. Good for you. But I am also curious to know why, because I genuinely don't get why Trixie has such a big following. I found Trixie entertaining in her other appearances as an egotistical antagonist, but I never expected her to be an important three-dimensional character. So when I found out she was returning, I just went, cool, should be interesting. It wasn't until I saw the episode, though, that I realized just what a great idea this is. I love the idea of the first friend Starlight made on her own being a returning antagonist, and someone Twilight isn't particularly fond of. But we'll get to Twilight later. Sure, the returning character could have been Discord or Sunset Shimmer, but we've spent a good amount of time with them. I honestly wasn't sure if Trixie was being genuine about wanting Starlight to be her friend. Everyone said she was reformed after Magic Duel, but personally, I never bought that. Yeah, she apologized for what she did with the Alicorn amulet, but she still had to be stopped by force. And even then, Twilight doesn't really offer to be her friend, she just accepts her apology. Even with all of that, I wasn't convinced that Trixie had completely changed her ways. And she kind of didn't, but again, we'll get to that later. Still, I love Trixie and Starlight's interactions. They work so well off each other, and I thought it was fun to see them joke around about the evil things they had done. Also, Trixie's wagon got a nice new paint job. So there's that. Alright, fine. Before we get to the final conflict, let's talk about Twilight. Twilight seems to be a sore spot in this episode for some people. She's not exactly happy that Starlight's new friend is Trixie, and some people don't think it's fair that she was not willing to trust Trixie the way she trusts Starlight. But I think it's more than that. Of course, part of it is just wanting to give a good impression for Princess Celestia. Twilight has strived to impress her mentor long before she became a princess, and even after she did, she still became a little hostile when people tried to get in the way of that. That doesn't mean that she shouldn't let Starlight be friends with someone she's supposedly forgiven, but what if Twilight is worried about what kind of influence Trixie would have on Starlight? Like I said before, Starlight is still trying to work on her own control issues, and when her first new friend is some pony who specifically antagonized Twilight, and whose new attitude and motives were left pretty ambiguous, I think she's also worried about Trixie convincing Starlight to be more selfish or revert back to her old ways. She's still being selfish, don't get me wrong, but I do think she's also trying to protect Starlight from someone she thinks is a bad influence. That's the brilliant thing about this episode, though. None of them are in the wrong, but none of them are in the right either. All of these characters have something to prove in this episode. Twilight wants to prove she's a good teacher, Starlight wants to prove she can be trusted to make her own decisions, and Trixie wants to prove that someone would choose her over Twilight. So once everything goes down backstage and Trixie accidentally reveals her true motives, Starlight is naturally upset. After all, this is not a pony who takes rejection well. Starlight is a fragile character. She always has been. Why else do you think it took one friend moving away to cause her to start a creepy, really not for TVY audiences, equality cult? So I like seeing just how upset she was that her first big attempt at friendship on her own backfires on her. Or so she thinks. Much like Discord, it seems like Trixie didn't realize just how much she enjoyed having a friend for possibly the first time until she was gone. Such a poignant turn in her character was something I wasn't sure I really wanted for Trixie, but now having seen it, it's a very believable change that was done so well. Which makes Twilight realize what a good friend Starlight has been to Trixie, and not what a bad influence Trixie has been on her. One circumstance affecting another, one character revelation bringing on another. Everything just builds up and pays off so well in this scene. It's so great! It was also great to see Starlight come back and help Trixie with her big magic act, and wow, it looks like Trixie's wagon wasn't the only thing that got a makeover. Does the Manticore look a lot cooler than the first one, or is it just me? Overall, this is another top tier episode for season 6. I said before how much I don't mind the multiple reformed characters in the show, and part of the reason for that is that I think most of the Reformation arcs are distinct enough and fit the characters and how they each change through their future appearances. Some wear their past mistakes on their sleeves, others try to hide how they feel about what they did. Some change completely, and others don't change that much, but learn to compromise. Trixie and Starlight share similarities with other Reformation arcs in the show, but they are very much in character and have their own challenges to overcome. I love the idea of reformed villains bonding over their past deeds, and I think Trixie was the perfect choice for the story. This is certainly on par with On Your Marks, and if the episodes keep coming out at this quality, it's going to be tough for me to pick a favorite. I am certainly a Trixie fan now, and I hope she returns for some more friendship adventures with Starlight Glimmer, who I'm fully convinced now can carry an episode and be a good addition to the main cast. Throw in some fun guest appearances and hilarious facial expressions, some of which I didn't think were possible in Flash, and you just have an overall great episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.